race 3. I think this would be the last one today, and we're starting at 3:30. They're 40-minute races. That's 4:10, 4:30 to start the next race. Maybe they'll do it. I don't know. And I don't know how they're pulling off starts with a P flag, man. I don't know how they're doing that, because this, I guess it's because the line is so long. And it might have looked like there was boats over at the other end, but you're going off the sound signal. We're pretty far away from them. It takes a long time for that signal to get to us, so looks like it was all clear. Well, biggest lessons of the day are you really got to pay attention to your sails and managing these swells, and making sure you change your sail setup and things if you're not doing well. It does look like the Newport teams are really all over their jib sheet adjustments, that's for sure. And that's hard to, that's hard to develop. If you've got the skipper chasing their tail, trying to keep up with your jib adjustments, you got to really be on it. So that's one reason why the fleet spreads out a little, is the more advanced teams are more coordinated. The teams that have been doing this 3-4 years, maybe in some cases 5 years, probably more like 3 or 4, those teams are just more in sync with their skippers. And we're out here with club boats, club sails, sailing with new partners. It's great experience, really good experience, but it's all about learning. And yeah, the jib adjustments seem to be something that's quite important. So we're down to 3-4 knots. Race 3, first windward mark. And before I forget, what we should do is measure our boats when we get back to the dock. So measure the tension, measure the rake. And for the teams that didn't do well, we're going to sail a different setting tomorrow, depending on the forecast. I think the forecast is going to be 2 knots, 3 knots windier. So we might not change very much, but definitely not come out with the same exact setting. I see some old sails getting to the weather mark, so that has to be one of us. It looks like Anton going to come around in 4th. Really rough first race. Hopefully he passed a bunch of boats. And then he had a 6, and he's in 3rd right now. So outstanding job. So again, measure the boats when we get back to the dock. This should be the last race. Downwind doesn't take, it's not crazy hard or anything, but it takes a lot of research. And so watch the videos. You're looking for pole angles and where the crew is sitting and where the booms are. When we turn the spinnaker sheet in, it's going to make the spinnaker bluff. So the boom comes in as you trim the spinnaker in. As you see them pulling the spinnaker sheet in, you're pulling the main in at the same time. And then as they ease the sheet out, you're slowly letting the main back out. And if you feel more power when you pull the main in, then you were probably under trimmed by a tiny bit. Oh, Jacob Posner first. Came out of that jibe a fraction low. It's hard to jibe in swells because you don't know what's causing the luff. It could just be the boat surging forward causing the luff. Okay, so here we go. The crew's sitting right next to the shroud. And the swells are hitting from the side. So you're gonna get a big light spot right as the swell lifts you. So let's watch. Yeah, and your spinnaker luffs right as it lifts you. And then as you get off the swell, the spinnaker fills. See it? Fill. Okay, and then as the crew, you get ready to trim. Right now you trim a little. Yeah. It's because you're getting launched sideways that the spinnaker is getting the spinnaker staying in the same place and your boat is launching to leeward, so the spinnaker comes into the jib. Oh, they have good pressure right now. Yeah, Anton pulls the main in as then lets it out slow. You really have to study the mainsail though. You've got to be able to identify when it's luffing. You don't want it luffing at all. See how his spinnaker his main luffs? So you gotta be able to sit there when you're training. You practice the mainsail trim. It's the simple rule of if it luffs, trim it in, and if it's not luffing, you're slowly easing or holding it where it is. A lot of people have their main luffing a bunch and they just will not see it. Drives me nuts. So watch for the mainsail luffing. It's hard to see, isn't it, in this gray? But yeah, if your mainsail's luffing, it might mean you're going too high. Yeah, I think she's just going a little high. Shoot, it might work. I don't know. Seems like she's done okay. So, but main's luffing for sure. She's got to pull that thing in. But if your main's luffing on a downwind leg, it might mean you're just going above the proper course that you should be sailing. You know, it shouldn't luff downwind very much, and you shouldn't have to trim it super tight downwind. But so let's work on that. Practice downwind where the skipper focuses on the mainsail a little bit and keeps getting an idea of the best mainsail trim in all conditions. Where you can just set the main in the right spot depending on if it's light, medium. So it's tighter in light air and looser in heavy air. 2 to 4 knot race, really awesome. We can pull off races in this because it's not fun. But look for the old sails here. Which ones look old? Let's see. No, those look white. Those look white. This is a pretty amazing performance. This is Anton. I don't know if he's winning, but he looks like he's doing pretty good. And again, make sure you're watching carefully, start and stop the videos. You're gonna see this guy's mast. This guy might be leading right here, coming right at us. And watch, his mast never heels to windward. As soon as you heel to windward, the boat wants to bear off, and then you push the tiller to leeward, and you just ruin flow over the boards. Okay, here we go, watch the swells. When you drop down into the trough is when you should feel more wind. So he's up, and then as you get to the top of the swell, the boat's gonna lose power and the mast is gonna rock to windward. So the crew has got to move. It looks like Anton and this guy are doing the right thing. They are doing their best to foot like crazy and get moving. Here we go. These are the leaders of race 3. You can see second place there is just footing like crazy. He's just trying to go forward, and Anton's trying to do that too. I saw more wind out on the left. I saw more wind out here, so I think Anton's gonna be okay. He's not to it yet. But I saw a cruiser just a few minutes ago looking pretty good. And he doesn't look windy, but he looks headed on starboard. So I think Anton is gonna be okay. We'll see. Okay, so here we go. Let's watch. Boat goes flat and the jib luffs right there. You see that? At the top of the swell, the jib luffs and he just goes straight. He doesn't turn down. This guy doesn't turn down very much. Here we go. Top of the swell, slows down a little, and then the boat speeds up a little. This is a bigger swell. He's gonna get to the top of the swell. Right now, the boat's gonna go flat and look slow. So the crew has to move in every one of these. The crew has to be moving on every single time the boat gets flat. The crew just, the boat lurches towards me. the crew has to just be putting their shoulders down towards me. Ooh, Anton got parked out there. And this guy looks very headed. This is gonna be shift going on. This is gonna be a long video, sorry. A lot to learn out here. This guy looks headed. If you look out at Anton, oh, just a second ago, he was pointed on about a 10-degree lift with more pressure. And just as I turn the camera on here, it's kind of backed off a little again, but he was locked into a little private wind. I think it's gonna fill in over here. There's the mark right there. I think the wind's coming right at me here, so he actually looks kind of light out there. We'll see. Hard racing.
Coaches, Prairie Series coaches, this is going to be the last race of the day. This is going to be the last race of the day.
We had races. Race 1, 2 to 5 knots. Race 2, 4 to 7 knots. Race 3 down 2 to 4 knots. And it was really big. This boat's on starboard tack, crossways to the swell. It was really big today to know the swell situation. And right now, cross swell, you're getting launched to leeward, so your spinnaker collapses, and then you get off the swell and it fills. So as you get to the top of the swell, right now it should collapse, sheets in. And then when you get off the swell, yeah, and then on port tack, you're going with the swells more. Let's just watch port tack here and see how these guys are all doing up here. So if tomorrow's similar, we're gonna have to figure this out a little. Yep, you see the black and white kite there. It collapses as you surge forward. And then as you slow down, you got to ease the sheet out. 9050, that orange spinnaker right there is on it. It looks like Kelly and Al. I think the pole's too high. Again, you got to remember, if your spinnaker's really hard to fly, you can't have it all tweaked sideways like that black and white thing. See how that's a you can just see the horizontal panels are not horizontal, they're like diagonal. That's an indicator that you lower your pole. I would say almost everybody, you know, that orange one right in there looks pretty good. They're relatively horizontal panels, but as soon as your panels start to get rocked way to leeward, you got to have a lower pole. See how the black just kind of looks like this weird shape. Big swell, yeah. That might be the biggest swell of the day, right there. You see how your panels aren't horizontal? They're like tipped over to the side. That means your pole's too high. See how much higher the tack is than the clew? All that does is hook the leech like crazy. See how the red tack is way higher than the green clew? And your spinnaker's actually not, or those panels are more diagonal. In the light spots, it looks worse than that, but you want this, you know, classic example of lower the pole will open the leech. See how tight your main has to be? So you got to open the leech of the spinnaker also. But yeah, you can't really see the panels as well because you're behind the main, but we want those panels to be horizontal, not all tipped over. Kind of like that red one. The pink spinnaker looks like the pole height is good. The gray with the pink stripe. But this guy's also got his pole too high. Yeah, you can't see your leech from here, but man, it's hooked. Just heading in from the ocean. Long old tow. Back to the envelope. Forgot my valleys.